Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today I got a mess in my corn right now. I got weeds everywhere, and I want to try again to make a Three Sisters garden out of this. So the corn is doing pretty well. There are some issues, but the biggest issue is I got to get all these weeds out of here. The weeds are killing me. So I'm going to clear this out. And then once I'm done with that, then we'll talk about planting some Three Sisters stuff. All right, we're going to try it one more time. Well, I'll probably try it many more times, but hopefully this time we'll get it to work. So let me get this all weeded out, and then we'll get back to doing the Three Sisters. All right, so I got all the weeds pulled out, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant some squash seeds. Alright, so I've got some spaghetti squash seeds that I had from my last year's crop, or actually it might have been the year before. And in the open areas, I'm going to plant some squash. Alright, so this is where I've had a few plants that didn't want to come up, a few corn plants. Alright, and that's part of the Three Sisters. So there's three things that you want. You want corn, and you let the corn get up to about a foot tall or so, or a little, maybe a little bit taller. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plant squash and beans to go with it. Now the squash, the idea is it'll shade the soil and keep the weeds down, and the beans will provide nitrogen for the soil to help the corn grow. All right, so we're going to go get some beans, and I'm going to plant a whole bunch of beans up in here. So worst comes to worst, and one of the beauties of this is, so let's say for example that your corn doesn't do well. All right, that none of this really helps and your corn just sucks, as has been known to happen for me. Well, you'll still have squash plants. So, worst come to worst, you should get a squash harvest. And if you don't get a squash harvest, well, then hopefully you'll get a bean harvest. So either way, I should get some food out of this plot. But hopefully we'll get all three, and the three of these will work in a symbiotic relationship. So one of the things I forgot to mention is after you weed out your corn, you really want to go through and kind of support it. And the way I support it is I'll take the dirt, I'll pack it up around the corn, and press it down real good. All right, because when you're pulling weeds and stuff, you're going to disturb the roots of the corn, you're disturbing the soil, so soil is no longer packed. And then of course I want to get the leaves back up out of the dirt so they have a chance to provide photosynthesis for the plant. And hopefully keep it growing. Now you can kill your corn if you're not careful by pulling weeds. Alright, so here I've got a bunch of beans that I saved from last year. So let me break these open and get the bean seeds out. So the way I do it, I like to keep them in the bean pod. Well, I don't always. This time I decided I was going to keep them in the bean pods. I just leave them sit up underneath some shelter. And I like to try and pick the longer, better bean pods when I use the seeds. And then once I'm done with these, I'll take the rest of the bean seeds and I'll save them as dried beans. Hopefully at least. Now, so the type of beans you want when it comes to doing this Three Sisters thing is pole beans. Now, which type of pole beans? I don't know that matters. But I mean, whatever you grew last year is the cheapest and easiest way to go. If it grew well for you, then you already got the seeds and you don't have to pay for nothing. So now I did buy the corn seed for this whole project, which I buy every year and it never does any good. But you can also take corn cobs with the corn still on it, dry that, and then just twist it off and use that to plant. So now I know where I've got my squash. I got squash here, I got squash there, and I got squash there. So in other areas, I'm going to plant beans. And the beans, you want to plant them about an inch deep. And I'm just going to plant them basically anywhere I think they're going to fit. The idea being, you know, it's better if you can do it around the stronger stalks, because the idea is these beans are going to climb up the stalks. I usually put about an inch deep. And I normally put 2 beans per hole, just in case one doesn't germinate. So let me get these planted. Alright. Now in the classic Three Sisters, normally they would plant the corn in a circle, squash in the middle, beans around the outside. The problem with that is I would have only got a couple of circles of corn, so rather than do that, I did the lines and then, you know, planted the squash in various spots, and then the beans in between the different corn plants, or the corn stalks. So again, the goal here is that the beans, well, the corn will grow up, the beans will grow up the corn to provide nitrogen for the corn, and then the squash plants, as they grow and get large, will shade out the bottom and keep weeds from growing. So that's the plan. Hopefully it'll work this time. I mean, I've only done this probably every year since I started growing a garden here, and it's always been kind of mixed results, I'll be honest with you. But we're going to give it one more shot and see how it works out. All right, thanks for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and a subscribe. Let me know what you think. Give it, you know, show it to your friends. But most importantly, get something growing in your yard. Maybe you can grow the Three Sisters too, and get some corn and squash and beans all grown in your yard, all in a small compact space. All right, y'all take care and come back and see me.